A whole lot to unpack and digest here. If you look at social media, it's a bunch of pissed off black people because there were a lot of people who organized and mobilized quickly to demand folks search for her. We know cases where black women come up missing and they don't get the same amount of coverage. That was not the case here. Authorities moved quickly, and based upon what we have seen thus far, this was all a hoax.
It's sad to say, but this doesn't look good. I'm glad that Carlee is physically safe. And I just want to emphasize she's physically safe. But yes, there's a lot of mental health and other considerations and undergoing evaluation and treatment that's going to have to happen in the next few days and even into the coming months. What's really sad about this is on social media, people are comparing this to Jussie Smollett. And what happened, a few years ago with him claiming to go the subway in the middle of the night on a cold, wintry, blizzard-filled night in Chicago. But like you said, we also know that Black women and girls, Hispanic women and girls, and Indigenous women and girls go severely underreported and missing across this country, as well as resources aren't used or targeted towards the effect of finding and returning them back to their friends and family. This situation is very sad. I know we're going to find out more in the next coming days. But, I really do feel for the young woman, and I do hope she gets the help that she needs.
Let me say this here, Robert. I've seen a lot of black folks say on social, oh, my goodness, this hurts our race. This hurts when there's a real case where a black woman is gone missing or abducted. This is just not right. Let me remind people of what took place last year. Go to my iPad. California woman who admitted to faking her kidnapping is sentenced to 18 months in prison. Sherry Papini gained national attention when she was missing for weeks, and then they found her actually with her ex-boyfriend. She also said, as you see the story here, she eventually reappeared with an elaborate story of being abducted by two Hispanic men, chained to a pole for 3 weeks, beaten and branded before being released by the side of a highway. She was actually, so while people were sitting here looking for her, she was actually, as the article says, she was staying with a former boyfriend nearly 600 miles away in Southern California and had injured herself to back up the false statements. I don't recall anybody saying that, oh my God, this is devastating to the white race. I don't recall people saying, oh my goodness, that this now means that the next white woman who comes up missing, folks are not going to look for her because of Sherry Papini. So, black folks, pump the brakes. I get in terms of what happens, but this ain't the 1920s and 30s when we got to deal with that BS, your credit to your race. One black person does something, is that reflective of all black people?
You're absolutely correct, Roland. I think I'm going to paint a silver lining around this as much as possible, because what we have seen in the past is a lack of media attention, a lack of law enforcement attention, a lack of public attention when it comes to missing black women and girls. That has been a problem that we have had. This time, that did not happen. We saw that social media was able to come together, push this story into the national forefront, push this into the national media to the point that you had the Today Show and every other outlet covering this. For years, the only person covering black and missing was you. This program was the only place that stories like this would be covered. Now we are seeing this work its way into the national zeitgeist. That means that the activism we've been working on has been effective. That means that the pushes that we have created in order to have the American people and the American media actually concentrate on the needs of black women and missing black people is being effective. Don't let Carlee being a liar, and she's going to have to go up under the jail for a while. child. She's going to serve her time. She's going to be punished for this. But don't let that take let's not lose the forest for the trees here. And the fact that finally we're getting to a place where people actually will pay attention to these stories. And I think that the power of Black Twitter to blow these things up has to be harnessed. That the power of Black social media and influencers to take stories like this and push them into the national forefront and be used for something good as opposed to something negative. I think we can take silver linings away from this. I don't want people to think of this as being a completely negative story just because this girl was lying, to forget that this might benefit us going down the road.
Scott, your assessment.
Well, I'm not so sure, or I'm not going to rush that her story is false. As a former prosecutor and someone who's been in this space looking for missing people in New York and other places, let me say this. Lies have no details, right? And right now the police don't have any details, have these broad strokes of facts. They're looking for corroboration. Right now they don't have it. Secondly, you can run, but you cannot hide. You cannot fake being missing. There's just too much technology, too many cameras, too much monitoring, right? So, and you're not going to be good at it because it's not something that you do on a day-to-day basis. Thirdly, and most importantly, of that press conference, there were two other research items on her phone or on her computer that they would not disclose. What were they not disclosing? It probably had to do with mental health or something else that they're going to pursue, but they weren't ready to disclose it because it'll tie up the facts whether this is true or not. And so if it is a mental health issue, they couldn't disclose that anyway, but they're going to pursue that. And then secondly, we should wait to see when and if that second interview is going to take place, because only Carlee knows where she was, what she was doing, and who else was with her. And if she's mentally ill and faked all of this, then she'll also have the answer to that. If she makes the police put more time, money, and resources into piecing this thing together, it's more likely than less likely that if it was a hoax, she's going to be prosecuted.
It is it is a issue that we know this when it comes to Black and missing. Rebecca, that it is a problem, and the reality is that when one of these things happen, it might cause folks to say, "Oh my goodness, hold up, let's pause here." But the reality is, until somebody has been found, guess what? You treat it the way you treat it. Sure, this white woman, Sherry Papini, she faked her abduction, but it doesn't mean that when the folks should not have been looking for her, people do crazy sorts of things. You had the woman in South Carolina, I forgot her name, Susan, whatever, who said Black man tried to kidnap her. She ended up drowning her damn kids. We've seen those examples all the time as well. So let's just be clear. White folks that blame Black people and Hispanics and others for trying to harm them, and it turned out to be erroneous. And so if this turns out to be erroneous, that she blames some white man, she just goes down with the rest of the other folk who are white, who actually lied about being kidnapped.
Yeah, and I think, too, even Robert's point about the silver lining is that people united, they use their particular platforms, whether you are an individual influencer of just your own family or friends, or if you're Carlee B and you have millions of people around the world who listen to the things that you send out and post on your social media. So I would just encourage people out there, like, hey, there are a lot of Black women and girls, children, period, who go missing every year. There are many great partners who try to put out that type of information. So use your social media as a platform to magnify, to make sure that the thousands of Black women and children who are missing are found, that their families are able to get some type of closure if it turns out that they're not be able to be found safely.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Unfiltered video in just one moment.
For decades, the tobacco industry has deliberately targeted Black communities and kids with marketing for menthol cigarettes. It's had a devastating impact on Black health. Tobacco use claims 45,000 Black lives every year. It's the #1 cause of preventable death. In the 1950s, less than 10% of Black smokers used menthol cigarettes. Today, it's 85%. Ban menthol cigarettes. Save lives.
When you talk about Blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things
that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in Black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.